Alpha Kappa Alpha, aka very popular organization, the first of the black sororities, and a sorority is a sisterhood while a fraternity is a brotherhood. Okay, now the Alpha Kappa, the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, they have an image of a mythological giant god, or Titan, a Titan as it's called, on their crest, and it's in the bottom right hand corner. And that Titan's name is Atlas, and Atlas was supposed to have been cursed to uphold the world. So his responsibility is uphold the world. Now we know that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and we also know that the Bible says that God hung the earth on nothing. So Atlas is a representation of a false ideal and a lie, and it comes from the mythological lies that the Greeks believed because they didn't know the real God, the God of the Bible that we know. Kappa Alpha Psi. Ka Psi candidates which kneel at the sacred Delphic shrine, they give honor to the Greek god Apollos. So we see that when candidates join these organizations and kneel at the different shrines, they're giving their honor and their worship to a false god. Now, let me read a little portion of what they do. The altar of Kappa Alpha Psi, which is the sacred Delphic shrine, shall be placed in the center of the room and covered with a crimson and cream coverlet. This is on page 14 of the ritual book. Candidates for acceptance into this fellowship are required to kneel at the sacred altar of Kappa Alpha Psi and repeat the oath. And that was found in Can You Be Christian in Greek? And that was an in-depth analysis of black Greek-lettered organizations. But the actual thing that I just read is in their ritual book, in Kappa Alpha Psi's ritual book. It talks about how they should set their meetings up. There should be an altar. It should be covered with a red and cream coverlet, and the person should bow to it. It's called a sacred Delphic shrine. A shrine is a place of worship or an altar. Alpha Phi Alpha, which is supposedly one of the first male fraternities, came out in 1906. The Sphinx, and this is what the Sphinx, which is on the crest of Alpha Phi Alpha, represents. The Sphinx is a mythical or fake beast of ancient Egypt, frequently symbolizing the pharaoh as an incarnation of the sun god, whose name is Ra or Osiris, depending on which information you come across, but we know it's not Yahweh or Jehovah or Jesus Christ. Alpha Phi Alpha uses the Sphinx as its fraternal image, and the head of the Sphinx appears 3 times on one of their fraternity's crests. All right, Sigma Gamma Rho. Among other deities, this sorority's shield has a skull with crossed swords behind it, which symbolizes death. The Bible considers death as an actual being. And once you join, you become a brother of those people. That means you're born of the same father, okay, or of the same mother. You're born of the same particular organism. And since Freemasonry honors all of the gods of their initiates, you're born of a spirit that does not honor God, but that honors false gods along with God. Now, in Albert Mackey's Revised Encyclopedia of Freemasonry, it reads that one of their gods, one of the Freemasonic gods, and one of their higher gods, whether most Masons who are on the low level know this or not, this is written by a high-level Freemason, Albert Mackey, and he said that one of their gods is a god called Baphomet. All right. His name is Baphomet. Now, 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 33 reads this way. It says, they feared the Lord, talking about the inhabitants of the land. They feared the Lord and served their own gods after the manner of the nations whom they carried away from there. So it's talking about a people who obeyed God in one regard, but in another regard also worshiped their false gods. Because sororities and fraternities consider themselves as supreme in service, and they consider themselves higher than just a mere social order, when a person buys candles that are from the sorority or from the fraternity and place them on a shelf or in a particular area of the home, and that's where you'll find most of the sorority and fraternity regalia, that place has been dedicated to that sorority, which is a spiritual / social organization. And because the person swears to that organization and makes oaths of praise and honor to that organization, then that person is creating a shrine to a false god in their organization. Alpha Phi Alpha, and the history of Alpha Phi Alpha development in college life, printed in the 12th edition, printed in 1981, it's written this: Alpha Phi Alpha, the pride of our hearts, and loved by us dearly art thou. We cherish thy precepts, thy banner shall be raised. To thy glory, thy honor and renown, we hold ever aloft noble ideals and aims, carrying out earth's and heaven's great commands. So apparently they confess that they got this from heaven. We know that they didn't get this from the heaven of our God. They got this from the heaven where demons dwell. The Bible calls that the second heaven. Our true hearts ever strive success's goal to gain, that our fraternity's praises may be sung. So we see that this idolatry is very apparent when you really come upon the culture of these Greek fraternities and sororities. We realize that we're not playing with something that doesn't know what it's talking about, or that has ignorantly gone and rounded up a bunch of people and told them to join because it's all about the charity, it's all about the giving back to the community, it's all about the making of a better person. No. We're talking about organizations that honor and respect false gods and that have an agenda that we must assess according to their works. Any organization that honors a false god obviously is not working for God. It's working against God. So people who join that organization are aligning themselves with an organization that is working against God. Jesus said that he that is not with me is against me.
Don't move, nigga. Don't move. Don't move. Don't move.
Tattoos and brands. Now, tattoos and brands are designs and images that are made on the skin of a man or woman or animal by cutting or burning the skin. This practice is rampant among men and women who have pledged themselves to their fraternity or sorority. Now, I was just told by an ex-soror that if the fraternity supposedly finds out that these young men are branding themselves, or if these young women are doing types of things that they consider hazing, then the fraternity will shut off that particular charter. They'll reject the people that have joined. But there's something about the organization, in spite of their rules to supposedly keep things morally or ethically good, in spite of the leaders' best efforts, we have to realize something. There is something about these groups that makes the initiate or the pledge really want to give their bodies over to it, to the degree that they will cut themselves and burn themselves with the sorority or fraternity's symbol. Now the question is, if a fraternity member or sorority member is found to have done that after the fact, let's say that it's a conference and there are leaders, there are people from the fraternity leaders that are at that conference, and they see an Omega man, as they're called, with an Omega Psi Phi emblem on his arm, do they automatically revoke his status? Is it illegal for him to get a brand? Do they reject him because he has branded himself? Because they say that it's illegal to do it. So the question is, do they now disband members as a result of them having done it? And the answer is absolutely not. It's not done. Because it obviously is forwarding the real agenda of these fraternities and sororities. It's making people give themselves over to something else. It already honors a false god, so how can an organization honor a false god and then expect the members of that organization to respect holy and moral virtues such as preserving the body?